Alright, we got a very interesting topic of discussion today. So, earlier this week, I put out a couple of videos. As you can see here, we have all of them right there. These videos were talking about which free-to-play units that we have access to are the most worthwhile for you to invest in and get them a plus 10, give them maximum dragon flowers, give them the crazy skill fodder, and so on and so forth. So, I had a couple of comments on some of these videos talking about, like, okay, are these units really worth investing in, man? Or are we just investing in them because there's nothing else to invest in? Well, let's actually put that to the test. Let's see, are these free-to-play units that you can fully build up and get to plus 10 actually going to be able to compete with some of the new stuff? So, let's start over here. So, we're going to just do a little stat comparison. That's mainly what this video is going to be about. Now, I'm going to be comparing the new Brave Robin to a very old, well, not old, but like not quite as recent merge project. So, Guy over here, he is a sword, well, you could call him a god sword. And, of course, Robin, he's not a god sword, right? But a lot of people want to say that he is because of his stat line. So, Robin, he's got his perf weapon, which we're going to read in just a sec, and then he has Tip the Scale. So these are both unique things that only he can equip. So I've gone ahead and put those on. As far as A slot passive and B slot passive are concerned, he can equip the exact same things as Guy because they are both the same movement type and they are both the same weapon type. So whatever you want to give to Robin, you could just give to Guy as well. So just to fill in the gap there for the C skill, I equipped a C skill on him so that we can at least get a more fair stat comparison here. Now, of course, Robin is a support. He grants Rally Spectrum from his C skill, which there's no way in the universe I'm ever going to say that Guy is better than Robin. From a functional standpoint anyway, right? Because this guy, he's giving the Rally Spectrum, and then his weapon plays up to a whole bunch of other effects that Guy is never going to be able to activate. But from strictly a statistical standpoint, let's see where we end up. So Robin's weapon here grants a flat speed up 3, which we can match actually on Guy. We can equip this guy with Arcane Devourer and go for the plus speed refine. So it ends up like equating there. Alright, Robin also gets all stats of 5, which Guy also gets from Arcane Devourer because that weapon gives all stats of 5. So far they're pretty much evenly matched as far as weapon stats are concerned. Robin gets 40% DR from the foe's first attack, which also is given by Arcane Devourer. And then he has Tempo built in. Guy does not have Tempo because that's not the effect of Arcane Devourer. Instead, it gives you a special acceleration per hit. So, kind of like in the similar like tier of power, I would say. Like, Tempo nullifies Guard, and then the special cooldown ramping that you get from Arcane Devourer wouldn't necessarily negate Guard, but it lets you break through it by getting an extra special charge there, so it's similar. And then also, this is where Robin starts to get very unique, is because if his max special cooldown count value is over or equal to 3, and his attack can trigger a special, then he gets nullification of DR, which you could technically get on Guy if you wanted to run Special Spiral 4, but you probably want to run like a God Sword B skill on him instead, such as, let's see here, like Close Call 4, I would say, or Physical Null Follow-Up or something of that nature. And then also, if Robin has Glowing Ember, Bonfire, or Ignis, then he gets adaptive damage. You could also get adaptive damage on Guy if you gave him, what is it, Attack Speed Hexblade, which would give him attack and speed up 7, and the Hexblade status if he's in 2 spaces of its home. So, all of these things technically Guy could do, but you're kind of like hurting his build overall, because Guy would rather have a different ace skill than Hexblade. He'd probably want like distant attack speed solo, or what is it, like attack speed finish. Something along those lines would be preferable to him, as opposed to running Hexblade there. And then, of course, Robin's C skill, I mean, this can't even be put into words how busted this is. So he's giving all stats of 5 to all allies. Now, technically, Guy could be a recipient of getting the status effect there, Rally Spectrum, so that would give him all stats of 5 as well. I'm not really going to count that so much, though, because Rally Spectrum is, at the moment, unique to Robin. And then he's further getting all stats of 3 if he's in 2 spaces of an ally that has Rally Spectrum, or just in 2 spaces of any ally, regardless of whether or not they have Rally Spectrum. So, from a statistical standpoint, let's see here. So, weapons basically cancel each other out. And then Tip the Scales is giving Robin effectively +5 and then +3. So he's at +8. So we have here 49 speed. The reason why I'm not using merges and I'm using neutral Ivies here is because, I mean, free to play, right? So by all accounts, if you're summoning on the Brave Banner, you're probably going to either spark for Robin or you're going to get him from the free pull that we get for Choose Your Legends units. So you'd either get him with neutral Ivies or completely random Ivies. You could win the lottery and get plus speed there, or you could also Trait Fruit him to get plus speed, but Trait Fruits are very rare. Trait Fruits are like one of the harshest, like slow drip-fed currencies that we have in the game. So you have to be really careful about who you're giving your Trait Fruits to. And I feel like the Tempest Trial units actually take priority there because they're not able to be summoned or obtained with Ivies naturally. You would have to Trait Fruit them to get your Ivies onto them. So I actually save all of my Trait Fruits for the Tempest Trial and Grand Hero Battle units, as opposed to using them on summonable units that I could possibly get Ivies on. So just for the sake of like argument, I'm not going to like stat compare plus speed and like emerge as well to like negate the Bane and stuff like that. We're just going to take a look at neutral Ivies here. And, of course, it's a little unfair to Robin, but then again, if you got this guy at +10, that's like pushing whale territory, right? So the whole point of this is just to show, like, how well your free-to-play merge projects can compete with possible, like, non-whaled 5-star exclusives. So we said here +8 to speed, so that would give Robin 57 speed, whereas Guy is already at 56. And he's getting the drive, attack, and speed from Oath 4, so he's actually at 59 speed. Now, keep in mind, I used Guy here. I could have easily used Lapis as well, which would have raised the speed cap even more. So I just chose Guy because he's a little bit more easy to obtain. He's been around for longer than Lapis, so it's more likely people would be able to get this guy to +10. And also, you take a look at the rest of their stats besides just speed. Like HP 56... Over here, we've got HP 41. That's a pretty significant jump. 15 more points of HP. And then 36 defense, 28 res. Over here, this guy's got 40 defense and 32 res. So he just is overall just more bulky, and he's faster. So I have to admit, man, like, when you get these really easy-to-get merges and you fully invest in them, they are able to compete with the 5-star exclusives, and in some cases even look better than them. Unless, of course, you're a whale and you just have everything at +10. Then, like, the free-to-play units start to not really matter so much. But if you're not a whale, if you don't intend to spend a large amount of money on the game, then there is definitely value to be had by building these free-to-play units. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at Sayri up next. I wanted to choose an infantry lance unit, but we actually very rarely get those. It's actually kind of a surprise. Like, even 5-star exclusives, we really don't get too many infantry lance units. And I think the reason why, I think I've figured it out, by the way. I've figured out why all of the free-to-play units happen to be axes, and then, like, we never get, like, free-to-play lances that are really good. The reason why is, of course, because of this. Like, they just keep releasing sword units over and over and over again, and they want the sword units to be dominating the meta. So all of the time we get free-to-play green units, they're always at a disadvantage against the hot new shit red unit, the sword unit. So they want us to be, like, at a detriment when we're using our free-to-play axes that are really nice, like Fallen Linus and stuff. And they don't want to give us free-to-play lances as well, because then we'd have color advantage on the sword units. So that's the reason why, in my head, we never get lances, but we always get axes. Pretty much. Let me know if you think I'm right on that. But anyways, this is Sayri here. She came out on this year's Bride banner, and she only has a perf weapon, so let's go ahead and take a look at that weapon here. So Chonson Sprig, it's got -1 special trigger, all stats of 5, and then inflicts a penalty on the foe's speed and defense equal to 25% of the foe's attack at the start of combat, -8. With a maximum of 10. So, just for the sake of argument, we'll just assume that the max of 10 is always up. It's actually not always going to be the case, because this scales on a damage or a attack stat check, which could get you less than 10, but we'll just go ahead and check for 10 right here. So, let's assume Sayri's at +5 and then +10, so that would be +15 to her speed. So what do we got there? 48 plus 15. So Sayori's essentially at 63 speed here, right? So we'll come back to that in a sec. Now let's take a look at this Karen here. So Karen, similarly to Guy, I think Karen is a very easy merge project. She's been around for a while at this point, so it's not too difficult to get her to plus 10. Also, she's not even the best option, just like Guy. I could have easily chose Lapis there. I could have easily chose Summer Shez here. Summer Male Shez, but I didn't. So 56 speed right there with Arcane Lewin with the speed refine. Arcane Lewin also grants speed up 5, so that would put her at 61 speed. So she's only 2 points shy of Sayori there. That's pretty solid, man, honestly. Like, considering this is a free-to-play unit, that's not too far off. And then also Lewin does a whole bunch of other stuff too, like nullifies enemies' bonuses to speed and defense, which Sayori's weapon does not actually do. So Sayori doesn't nullify bonuses, so you could get blue buffs to speed and defense on Karen, and she would be able to use them, whereas Sayori would not. And also, Sayori being a flying type unit can't have lull skills, so she wouldn't really be able to turn off bonuses to speed and defense on the enemy like Karen could. So just another bit of an example there to show like how these free-to-play units do have advantages, and they actually are worthwhile if you can get them fully invested. So 33 defense, 38 res, 53 HP versus 42 HP, 30 defense, 28 res. Yeah, this is really where the free-to-play invested units really shine. They're just way bulkier. They've got more HP, and then they're typically better on defense and res. It's really only attack and speed that the non-invested 5-star exclusives can really like compete with the free-to-play units. So there we go for that. We have our Lance units. Now let's move on to axes here. Yeah, I'm using Ascended Hilda. I wish I could have chose a better axe unit, but a lot of the ones that have came out recently are armor types, like Baby Hector and stuff. So I didn't want to use an armor type. I wanted to compare infantry to infantry. So we have this rearmed here, Hilda here, who has Fuming Freykugil. So this weapon has -1 special trigger at the start of combat for allies in 2 spaces unit. If the ally has defense greater than unit's defense, or if unit has not entered combat during the current phase, gets all stats of 3 and reduces damage from foe's first attack by 20%. That is a support effect that Hilda grants to allies in 2 spaces. So we're not really going to count that towards Hilda herself, her stats. And then at the start of combat, if she's not within 2 spaces of an ally with defense greater than her defense, she's getting attack and speed up 6. She gets 40% DR and deals damage equal to X% of her speed when she triggers a special. So basically, stat-wise, we're looking at attack and speed up 6 here for this Hilda right there. So 45 speed plus 6 would be 51. Then we head over to female Shez, who is a little bit more recent. People may not have her at plus 10 yet. I actually do. I have enough copies to plus 10 her. But I'm building other units at the moment, so I haven't invested in this Shez yet. So she's got 55 speed. She's already better than Hilda in terms of speed without even accounting for her weapon, which also does grant attack and speed up 6, just like Hilda's weapon. So you're starting to see, right? Like, when we do that, she ends up at, what, 61 with the plus 6, whereas Hilda was only at 51? That's a whole 10 points faster, man. And then Hilda's got... Well, okay, actually, Hilda's an Ascended hero, so we could go plus speed for free with her with the Ascended traits. So 49 plus 6 would be 55, but she's still not going to beat this Shez uninvested. You'd have to plus 10 this Hilda to really get her to outshine the female Shez there. So just another example there, guys. So also, like I said, the stat lines with bulk are way better for the free-to-play units at plus 10. So 44, 38, 40. Whereas over here we got 44, 36, 28. So, yeah, Shez has a lot of res, actually. Wow, 40 res? That's pretty wild. So, again, another instance where free-to-play unit wins. And then finally, we're going to take a look at dragon units. Now, we only really have one free-to-play dragon that's easy to build in free-to-play. I could have used Naui. I actually was considering using Naui for this example here, but you need the Resplendent for her, and technically that's not free-to-play. You got to buy the Fey Pass to get that, so I decided to just go with Ina because she's completely free-to-play. Okay, so we have this Halloween core in here, another 5-star exclusive, and he's actually even more rare because he's a seasonal one. So let's go ahead and take a look at what his weapon does here. So -1 special trigger, grants attack up 6 and inflicts attack -6 on the foe. So essentially you could equate that to just being defense and res up 6 and attack up 6. He also has -1 special trigger on the foe per attack. So he inflicts guard and then he gets back 7 HP when dealing damage to the foe during combat. And then also, if the foe can make a follow-up attack, he gets 75% DR on the enemy's first attack, and then adaptive damage, of course, like all dragon weapons do. Let's actually pull up Arcane Grima real quick, because off top, I don't really remember what it did. Alright, so -1 special trigger, of course, all stats of 5. Unit makes a guaranteed follow-up attack, dealing damage equal to 15% of unit's attack, recovers 7 HP after combat, and then adaptive damage. So it's pretty similar, actually. It's not too far off. You're getting the healing, you're getting the all stats of 5. You get a guaranteed follow-up and some bonus damage, which Corrin's weapon didn't really do something like that. He has guard, though, which is pretty cool. But guard is easy enough to get on passive skills like Fire Flood Boost, which is really nice. And then both have adaptive damage, of course. So there's not really too much degree of separation outside of the DR that he gets on the first hit, which is pretty cool. Arcane Grima is not really that far off. So, stat-wise, what did we say we were getting? Attack up 6 and then defense and res up 6. And then Ino was getting all stats up 5 from Grima. So, she's at 48, 48 defense and res. And then Corrin's at 46, 41. So, as I said once again, like, these units are really not too far off. They are very similar in terms of power. I mean, Ina's attack is quite a bit less, but that's not the biggest deal because Grima is augmenting her attack by 15% of her actual attack stat. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, guys. It's actually worthwhile to invest in these free-to-play units if you're not a whale and you're not interested in, like, +10ing every single 5-star exclusive. There is definitely value to be had, and you don't have to worry if building your favorites is an issue and you can't win with them. Given recent times, the introduction of arcane weapons, rearmed heroes in general just being able to, like, be gods of fodder and make it really easy to build your other units when you give them the good skills, I feel like there is definitely a lot of value to be had building these free-to-play units, and you don't have to feel any shame whatsoever in building your favorite character anymore. You can give them, like, all the best stuff, and they are actually able to compete. It's not like it's a wash. It's not like you're just investing for the sake of investing. No, you actually do get some pretty solid mileage out of these free-to-play units. So hopefully that clears the air on that, and you guys are more incentivized to just play the way you want and have as much fun. So this is your boy Tasho signing out. Take care, fellas, and I'll catch y'all again on the flip side.